Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is 4 people that see the arrival of the Antichrist. Very interesting. But I have to tell you, I'm having trouble with my internet. I'm having trouble with my programs, deleting and corrupting the files. Second time I recorded this program. I think that AI knows I'm revealing it, I'm exposing it. And so it's doing what it can to stop it in such a way so that I can't really complain. I can't really prove it, okay? So I plead the blood of Jesus over my equipment, over my internet, uploading, downloading, posting until everybody gets this program in Jesus' name. All right, so topic, 4 people that see the arrival of the Antichrist. Let's start with Dalton Travis Gray back in 2024. He said, I had a dream that I was in a random place and global disruption had just occurred. Now, remember that because you're going to see that. And that's, by the way, one of the ways we know that this is of God, because we have different people years apart that see the same thing. You're going to hear global disruption several times associated with the show up of the Antichrist. I was in a random place and a global disruption just occurred, a blackout. I wonder if this is the 3 days of darkness. It was a worldwide cyber attack. It was some event that disrupted all world systems at once. It was a planned event to consolidate world power and control of all money systems. Now, we've heard this, okay? Information systems such as the internet and the exchange of information into a global surveillance state. Remember that. Global surveillance state. Think about it. So the only way you'd be able to buy and sell in the Antichrist can get between the buyer and seller would be if it's a global digital system. That's what this dream is seeing. This is the setup of the Mark of the Beast system. An exchange of information into global surveillance state in which we are subjects of that state. I knew this must be recording according to the prophecies in the Bible. I saw this event was the catalyst for this event. Then I was shown several places around the globe where this had caused great trouble and other places not so bad. But it was all around the globe. A world was affected. I saw the people revolting. I saw angry people, some degree of chaos everywhere, and the public did not understand what had happened. In the vision, I continued to travel. I was shown militaries and governments will try to crack down on this behavior and quell these populations, but nothing seems to work. We stopped at the Vatican. At that point, I realized an angel was with me, and I was overlooking the square at the Vatican, and people were in chaos. Shortly, the Vatican government told everybody to just calm down. You don't need to leave. We have an announcement to make, and we don't need any trouble here. They were enforcing a lockdown, or at least their curfew-style martial law. This was happening worldwide, remember that, to different degrees. Some places of the world, people just didn't care. The countryside people lived simple lives, and they seemed to calm down. The skies were super dark, like black skies, seemed very demonic and stormy. The Pope came out wearing his papal crown with many jewels in it. He had jewels on his clothes and his staff in his hand. He was dressed as majestic as the Pope, as majestic as he can get. He was wearing it all and looking slick. Then another individual came out. This individual was tall and had olive skin. Now I want you to notice the skin. They almost always say olive skin or dark brown skin. He was not a white European. He was very handsome and had the charisma of 100 times more than Joel Osteen. Just by looking at him, you just wanted to hear what he had to say. The Pope lifted his staff hand, telling everybody, calm down, calm down. Not long after that, he gave the floor to another fellow. He was thin. As soon as he began to speak, everyone was mesmerized, and everyone calmed down and became happy to hear him. It's almost as if the frustration completely disappeared. They were just lulled to a nice, mellow state. I could tell that they loved this guy. It was affecting me as well. As I was watching this man, I thought, oh, He's got it going on. I mean, he really knows how to do this. He's charming, but at the same time, I knew it was a deceptive charm. At the same time, I was objectively admiring him. I thought, wow, okay, he's a superstar. That's the sense I had. It was not this boisterous, angry, mocking attitude about him. It was more like a smooth superstar. So as he speaks, everyone mellows out and a calm came over the crowd. That's what another person said, that as soon as this big change hit, Ken Peters said that it was like everybody just walking outside, coming out of their mom's funeral. Nobody had any hope. There was not a smile on anybody's faces until this guy starts talking. He brought a calm. He brought peace into the heart. Remember, Daniel says, and by peace he will destroy many. It was the way he was dressed. He had a suit on. He ripped open his suit. And as soon as he did, I knew in my heart, okay, this has got to be the Antichrist. It's almost as if in the dream he perceived that I knew that I could see the evil underlying him. In that moment, I knew who he was. He ripped open his suit, and underneath his suit was gold. I mean, like some kind of gold spandex gold, like the most brilliant gold underneath his suit that I'd ever seen. It was gold that, wow, make you lust for it. Like, I want that gold. I've got to have some of that gold. I was definitely stunned by the shine of this gold. Whenever he ripped his suit open, he looked up at the sky. He wasn't angry. He wasn't proud or taunting. The spirit that was in him was more like a superstar. It was like when the lights are out and the stage comes on and the light suddenly shines down on Michael Jackson and he's wearing sparkling sequins, and it was like, wow, that kind of wow appeal. When he opened his suit and shined the light that shined from his golden shirt, he was wearing shined up. He shined up at heaven, and he smiled. And I knew at that moment he was telling God, I'm shinier than you. They love me more than they love you. At that moment, I knew this was part of the unveiling of the Antichrist. Then I heard the angel say, they are here to bear witness of what the Lord has said. Then he quoted the scripture, and he shall set in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. There are different interpretations, but that's basically what he said. Then the angel said, this will happen, but it will happen in a different temple than this. The dream ended. Now, a couple of scriptures to call to your mind. There was given him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. He opened his mouth in blasphemy against God. A mouth speaking great things. A mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout or better than his fellows. He shall speak great words against the Most High. And he will pollute the sanctuary of strength and take away the daily sacrifice and place the abomination and make it desolate. That's him sitting on the Ark of the Covenant. And he exalted himself above all that is called God. He sat in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. He will magnify himself above all. That describes what the man was saying. Now let's jump to Estonia Lewis 2020. This is only part of it. Antichrist brings calm from chaos. She said the police all had helmet protection gear. They were wearing SWAT clothes and military outfits like at war. They were showing us the news reports, reporting what was happening all over the world, and they said, we have a solution. In 2 weeks, we're going to present someone who has the solution to resolve all our problems. They told people to go back home, fix your stuff, everything would go back to normal. I said, oh no. I told everybody, wait. We must get out of here right now. Do not listen to these people. Do not listen to this solution. This person who says he has the solution to solving all of this is actually the Antichrist. They're about to present the Antichrist to us. Now let's jump to Ken Peters. Now let me just say, so I invited Ken Peters to come in the year 2000 and give his testimony. And it's a 2.5-hour DVD, and I encourage you to go to watchprophecyclub.com and watch it. Of the 330 DVDs we recorded, he's either number one or number two in terms of how many people believe this guy. He's got some awesome, which, by the way, I don't have the book right here in my hand, but his entire testimony is written out and in the book, Missed the Mark. So you can watch it for free at watchprophecyclub.com, or you can go to prophecyclub.com and get the book, Miss the Mark. Miss the Mark. That's the name of the book. Now, this is only part of it. 1980, he had the dream. He spoke to Prophecy Club in 2000. So he said television, telephone, radio, and this very unusual communication device, probably a cell phone, probably. All those television and media devices were all shut down for about a 2-week period. After about 2 weeks, television and radio began to come back up and running. However, it was completely different than it was previously. The broadcasts were being bombarded nearly everywhere, and they were depicting a soon-to-come new government and leadership. A man who would be emerging to lead us. The man finally came on the scene, and he spoke with great eloquence and charisma. He was soothing and promised answers to all current issues. This man was smooth and extremely convincing. He was able to solve nearly all problems. He was a consummate communicator and explained how this removal of people was God's judgment upon them. This rattled me in the dream. I didn't understand this position, let me tell you, so that you can comprehend where I'm coming from. At the time, not being born-again Christian when he had this dream, in the dream, when this man spoke, I began to be convinced. It began to pull me into the messages. He reminded me of Adolf Hitler speaking to the masses, but he had a demonic charisma about him that would literally pull the masses to him. That was nothing compared to what I saw. Nothing. He was able to rally a nation. This individual was able to rally the globe. He was very, very frightening. Almost immediately began to communicate through large screen televisions that were strategically placed everywhere in the general populace met. That same thing Daniel Davis saw. He said when he saw the man step to the microphone and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. The United States, as you have known it, has ceased to exist. All property lines are dissolved, and the U.S. dollar is worthless." And he saw this up on large screens, like with the whole side of a building in downtown Dallas. That's the same thing this guy is seeing. See, again, different people don't know each other, never met each other, but they're having the same dream and the same vision and the same angel visit. That's how we know this is of God. This man's speeches and directions for the whole world had to do with new times upon us as human beings, new directives for global peace, and the need to give up current citizenship for world citizenship. He said, "I must tell you, I've been raised red-blooded American. When I heard this in the dream, I could not fathom it. I've always had a gun, I've always hunted and fished, and I've always put my hand over my heart at the ball games when we sang the national anthem, and I've always respected men and women in the military. I love this country. And so to have this experience in this dream, it rattled me. It rattled me to the very core. This man continually, constantly spoke of world order and the benefits of all men dwelling together in peace. Remember what Daniel says, by peace he'll destroy many. Here it is. Now, even though I was disturbed in the dream, I was also being pulled into this because it sounded very, very good. World peace sounds good until you see the cost. There's no genuine world peace until the Prince of Peace establishes his throne on earth. That's the bottom line. No human being is going to bring peace to this earth. The only human being who's all human, all God, is going to bring peace on this earth, and that's Jesus Christ. And so I began to really think of relinquishing my citizenship, and this alarmed me greatly. Even though this was a message that pulled strongly on me, I somehow wasn't convinced of this new order. I constantly heard the word new order, world order, and new times, but I never did hear new world order. I don't know why. I don't know if they changed the name in the future in the dream or trying to show me different perspectives. At staggering rates, people were accepting his plan. This man was releasing through the airways. There was no resistance. No one was fighting him. No one was saying anything publicly. I can't tell you if the airways were controlled to the point where you couldn't come on and say certain things. I don't know. I began to go into a serious depression, and I began to ask myself questions. Is this the end of the world? The man I saw on the television could do signs and wonders and fix all of mankind's problems. I'll never forget his face, ever. As long as I live, I will never forget his face. His face was almost supernatural in appearance. He was almost too perfect. He was, well, for lack of better terms, the most handsome man I've ever seen. I want you to know that I'm very happily married heterosexual. When I say that he was a handsome man, I don't mean that in a strange manner. I just mean to tell you that this man had everything going together for him. That's what Maurice Sklar said. He saw him, he says, the most beautiful man he'd ever seen. Same words. Everything, he had this kind of chiseled look on his face, and everything about his appearance was almost perfect. When he spoke, there was just a very strange quality about him. Now let's jump to Jason Meeks, 23. In the dream, myself and some of the other Christians had traveled out of town. We were all staying in a regular hotel. The church in America was going underground. Somehow I knew it was just before the serious persecution began. We decided to go and check out a patriot expert in evasion and concealment. I thought it best to check it out myself to see if these techniques and training were useful and easy to learn for a layman and worth the time and expense. I was impressed with him and knew he was competent. I went back to the hotel to gather our group together and go to this camp, and I was lying on the bed and watching TV when the TV cut to a blue screen in the upper left corner giving the station a location. It said WV, which was telling me I was in West Virginia and I was watching a local West Virginia television station. News broke in saying all the money was no longer any good. Let me say it again. News broke in saying all the money was no longer good. Have we heard that before? Yeah. Shane Warren, the dollar would be worthless as leaves blowing in the wind. Brandon Briggs said that all of the banks kept all of the money. Same thing with that other lady. Just played her dream just yesterday. They take all of the banks, take all of the money. That was of now. It was worthless and would not be accepted anymore. Let me read that again. News broke in saying that all the money was no longer any good, that as of now it was worthless and would not be accepted anywhere. Same thing, Shane Warren, worthless as leaves blowing in the wind. If you wanted to pay for things, you had to download an app on your cell phone. I remember the 11-year-old kid. He saw that everybody had a cell phone, but it wasn't a cell phone. You couldn't make phone calls, couldn't play games on it. It was only for buying and selling. You wanted to pay for things, you had to download the app on your smartphone. I knew this was the beast system, the beginning of the mark of the beast. The phone app was just temporary. This app has access to everything in your life, total control. Why do you think our cars talk to each other? We drive down the road and they're taking our picture. We pull it to a stoplight, they're taking our picture. We walk into a restaurant, we walk into a hotel. Everything we get on the internet, you all got to give it your name, your date, address, your birth date. Okay, they're tracking us. As a matter of fact, as I said, I had to record this twice. And we're praying that I'm able to actually get it uploaded. I think the AI is already active. I mean, my file was corrupted. I went to upload the corrupted file not knowing it was corrupted, and the internet just stopped in the middle of me uploading it. So I don't think it's over the horizon. I don't think it's at the end of the block. I hope it's at the end of the driveway, but it's probably at the front door. It's probably in our computer. Let me go again. Okay. So the phone app was just temporary. This app has access to everything in your life, total control. The hotel phone rang. The manager said our money that we had paid to check into the room was now no longer accepted, and we would have to leave or download the app, and I told him we're leaving. The woman who handed me the phone was a new Christian and asked if we should download the app, and I was starting to tell her, no, absolutely not, and why. The report came on the TV saying a new man was coming to power and had started the new money change. They were saying how great he was. I knew it was the Antichrist. Scene changed. I'm now in a large parking lot and watch a man walk by with a small entourage. He's about 6'4". His body build was lean strength, similar to Obama. He was wearing a brown suit, and his skin tone was brown. Could you say olive? You could say olive. Darker than Middle Eastern, but not as dark tone as an Indian from India. I never have seen a skin tone exactly like this. Also, I only saw him from his front left. He had the facial and hair appearance of the very young and attractive actor Louis Jordan, but with a straighter nose. His presence was commanding. He had a fierce countenance, not because he was built like a bodybuilder, but because he gave off an air of total control. He was not so much physically imposing, but somehow mentally and psychologically imposing and very handsome and well put together. His hair, his suit, all seemed perfect. Not feminine, kind of hard to properly describe, but I knew the things just got rough. Then the scene changed. So we leave the hotel and arrive at the training camp. No one was there. The Patriot, gone. Equipment's still there, but somehow I knew in the dream that the bad guys had got him. That quick. He was gone. He would have never left without his equipment. Somehow in the dream, I knew that the church would have to rely on only Jesus to survive. That was the only way forward, Jesus all the way, or follow the Antichrist and take the mark. No in between. This was it. Now, let me say something. I've heard of two different people that were given dreams during the tribulation, during the time when no one could buy or sell, save he had the mark and the name of the beast or the number of his name. And they sat down round the table as if their plates were full, bowed their heads, thanked the Lord for their food. When they opened their eyes, the plate was full of food. Oh, God couldn't do that. Oh, wait a minute. He fed 3 million people out of thin air and watered them out of thin air for 40 years out in the Saudi Arabia desert, the wilderness. I think he can take care of us too, and he will. I want to let you know he will take care of us. The dream was jarring. Everything had changed in an instant without warning, like someone just flipped a switch. That quick. The total control of the system cannot be fully explained. I knew my family was safe. This world system will make the COVID lockdowns look like a picnic on the beach on a sunny day. How could one man exert that much absolute total control and power? This is not just a man. It is also a system that is even now being put into place. It is like the man was the system and the system was the man. Very jarring, disturbing, difficult to fully articulate the total oppressiveness of that atmosphere. My plan is, I'm not going to be barraging you every day with requests for donations. And I'm scaling back on how many times I'm talking about the sponsors. So we have to make it 28:30. If you'll notice, they're all 28:30 or thereabouts. So at the end, when I run out, is where we'll put the promos. And I'm not asking for donations until I really need them. And then at what time I ask, that's because I really need them. And I think that's the only way Prophecy Club is going to continue. But, we've been around 30 years. I think he's told me he's going to continue to take care of us. So I believe he'll take care of us. But anyway, so now's a few promos. Okay, the very best offer we have ever had of the Prophecy Club is 40 books for a gift of $100. That is How Pre-Trib Won, Tribulation Secrets in Daniel, God's Warnings to America, Miss the Mark, and The Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy. I'll explain. As I've said many times, in 2017, I memorized the book of Revelation. I got 30 revelations, 2 visions, and an audible voice. God showed me a secret door, the word first fruits, which is found in Leviticus and also Revelation, that links the feasts to the prophecies of Revelation. And perhaps for the first time, Revelation can be understood. One prophetic word said, there's a lock. I put over a word in the book of Revelation. I'm going to open it to you. It will turn many books written on the end-time message into obsolete books. That's this book. Secondly, I put together a collection of the very best prophecies from 32 years in Bible prophecy. Dimitri Duduman, Michael Boldale, Leslie Johnson, Henry Groover, Shane Warren, Terry Bennett, Maurice Sklar, Augusto Perez, Doug Metzger, Bree Keaton, and more in God's Warnings to America. Also, how do you talk to people about the mark of the beast, especially if they worship another god? Well, simple way is give them this book. It's a quick read, takes about 3 hours to read it, but if they'll read 2 or 3 pages, they'll probably read the book, and if they read the book, they will never take the mark of the beast. It explains both the mark of the beast and also the number of the name, and it has these pictures in the book. Finally, how pre-trib won. This book explains the truth about the rapture. It gives 4 foundations for the real truth about the rapture. It also answers 25 pre-trib questions, 1 for $20, each one of these typically, but don't do that. We offer them in shrink-wrap sets. The very best deal is go to prophecyclub.com and get the entire 40-book set for $100. I didn't cover every verse in the book of Daniel, didn't need to. I just covered the verses that has to do with us end-time saints. And it's called Tribulation Secrets in Daniel, 1 for 20, 10 for 30, 20 for 50 at prophecyclub.com. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. In 2021, I started making bread. And long story short is I believe God showed me that wheat is God's famine food, just like it was famine food back in the 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine, days of Pharaoh and Joseph. And I believe that that's what God has planned to feed his people. And you get it by going to josephskitchen.com. 3 steps. First, you want to get a machine package. Second, you want to order 6 ingredients and watch some videos, download the recipes to be able to make the bread. josephskitchen.com. Most of your long-time storage food, emergency food, all of that, typically are talking $9,000, $10,000 to feed one person for a year. Joseph Kitchen can show you how to do it for around $1,000 a person, and your kids will actually eat it, and it's actually good for you. Here's some bread that I made. Go check it out. josephskitchen.com.